you doing?
I'm good, man. I've just been like fatigued and because Anna's having a baby and then we're moving and I don't know if I'm like experiencing like hormonal changes or something because we're both pregnant, but it's like I think I feel like more agitated and feel like I'm pissy right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're going through a lot. But you might also just be in a pissy mood. Oh,
Can
you're
you
good.
hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, you're good. Your camera disconnected for a second. You might just be in a pissy mood. You know, you might just be like in a funk right now, unrelated to anything.
I disagree, but I hear your opinion.
Yeah.
So you got some cool comic books, right?
I did. I got I'll put them up on the screen right now, but I got 2 Supermans, really cool ones that I love, and then I'll also put up some Spider-Mans that I got earlier, really cool ones. Yeah, so I'm liking the idea of just collecting based off cover, and cover art alone. Like, I don't care the price, the valuation, or what it could be in the future. I just want really cool, beautiful covers.
I think that's where the future is, and yeah, I don't know. I'm worried now about not having the mic. Did my mic not pick up? When I was listening to the episode, the mic was picking up every time.
I know, you're good now. You sound fine on my end.
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon was talking to me about having some mic issues. So
yeah, we don't know what we're doing. We're not like professional audio people.
Yeah, that's the fun part of it for me.
Yeah, we're learning. These mics are pretty good. They're not the best, but I think it's fine for what we're doing.
Yeah, if you have any times where you hear the mic cut in and out or something, just let me know so then I can see the clip and know what I'm doing wrong.
Okay.
Or what's causing the thing. But I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. Like it's just like a bunch of people saying, it feels to me like a bunch of people saying that like these are key issues because Jack Kirby drew the fucking thing, or you know, like what is a key issue in comics and what should be collected. Like at the end of the day, it seems like beautiful art is the most important thing. And your comic book covers are so cool. But yeah,
I love them. I really do. And it's fun to go to like antique stores. That's where I've gotten those from.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of going through like the bins. Some of them are like wildly overpriced and stupid. And a lot of them have covers that don't pique my interest, but when I do, I just grab them.
Yeah, you buy them for like $2 too, right?
Yeah, I bought the Superman ones I got for $2 each, and then the 200th edition for the Spider-Man I got for, I think it was $10 or $15.
Mm-hmm.
And the other Spider-Man.
I think those are what? Are those modern? They're modern comics?
The Spider-Man one came out in, I think, the late 1990s or early 2000s. Probably early 2000s because of the tinfoilish cover.
Yeah.
But the Spider-Man one, the other one, was a gift from you, which was really great. I love that one. It's issue 69, which I'm going to cherish greatly. Yeah, it's really nice. And it's cool because it's in like, it looks so official because it's in like a little acrylic container. It looks like it's supposed to be like in a museum or something.
Yeah, the grade, the 9.8 grade.
Yeah, I saw that you post on your Instagram at Marston Hefner. You're trying to convince Anna's family into investing with you in the $90,000 X-Men first edition comic.
Yeah. That's like something that I love doing. It went over really well. I mean, the book was like, I mean, the video was like obviously like a joke, like, you know,
It's funny.
If you don't,
everyone should watch it. We'll link it.
It's not like a thing where it's like where like the viewer doesn't realize it's a joke. Like no, you're supposed to realize it's a joke, but at the same time, like I actually did a lot of work on it.
Yeah, clearly.
So the fact that my family's like not investing is like has nothing to do with like their confidence in the investment. Yeah.
Very funny though. So that's something that you've been going towards, and now you're noticing that the market for comics is kind of plummeting right now.
Yeah. It's just because of the recession and everything. So, now would be the time to invest in anything, or you wait like 3 months and then invest.
I think you could even wait a little bit. Yeah. I see with me, like in my finances, like I have some money sitting around that really should be in an investment
comic
portfolio. Maybe not a comic book, maybe not a first edition X-Men, but maybe like a proper investment fund.
Yeah.
Which I don't know.
Did I help you with that with the Vanguard?
You gave me a lot of information I need to look into. I'm going to talk to my bank guy and figure that stuff out, but I feel like in the coming months,
just don't let him say invest in our bank, because that's probably maybe what he's going to say, and it's not the best move.
I hope not. I don't think he would. I think he would probably push me towards like a good fund of sorts. But I think in the coming months, as the recession really hits, will be like the time to strike for whatever interest that you have that like is a collectible or investment. I think the time to strike is upon us soon. So I think to be prepared for that is wise.
Agreed. And if you're like Brandon, you just have money sitting around waiting to be invested, like you can go to Vanguard or Betterment, or like there's a lot of these kind of apps or places. Vanguard's the biggest one, the best one. Anna, my wife, does Betterment, but like they will just simply invest for you. You don't have to think about it. What my friend recommended was an S&P 500 index fund. And so they invest in like blue chip or really big companies that are just long-term gains, and you don't have to like buy and sell or whatever. So, I'm
kind of hoping
that's what I want to do.
Into. Yeah, I should look more into the Vanguard thing, because I think I'll go to my bank guy, see what he thinks first. I'm not gonna, do everything he says, but I always like hearing multiple opinions when it comes to that stuff, because everyone has a different perspective of how to invest. I don't think there's like, if there was like a straight shot of how to invest, we would all be doing it and we'd be all on the same highway. But there's so many different things you can do. Like some people do comics, some people do, cryptocurrencies. Other people do more traditional routes like S&P. I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
that's the fun, is that you're doing it your own way yourself. You're doing it yourself.
It is fun, but it's also scary because you're dealing with money.
Yeah, my dad.
I have a weird relationship with that. Yeah, go ahead.
When I used to play backgammon, and he taught me backgammon. He taught like all of our family backgammon, and like I was going through kind of like an existential hard time in college, and I was trying to play the game in a very different way than what he taught. And and whenever I would make a move that he thought was bad or incorrect, he'd say like, "You're ruining the spirit of the game." He like didn't even want to play with me. And he was like completely like upset. Why would you make that move? That's ridiculous. Yeah. And so now as a dad, it's like I want my child to feel like they can make the mistakes, or just I want their journey to be their own rather than like me micromanaging. But like I notice that in myself, where I'll micromanage sometimes. I think
you and I have always talked about like you more specifically have talked about like parenting and stuff for as long as I've known you. Is it becoming something like, because you've been thinking about it and talking about it with people for a while now, is it now like you're actually going to be doing it? You're going to be a father. Like, is it? I don't know. What is it like to be thinking about these things now? With
it's just
the child
day
on
by
the way?
day, enjoying the day by day process, and also dealing with the move is like stressful, you know.
It is, yeah.
But that's not about the baby. Basically enjoying the day by day, and like also looking forward to watching Looney Tunes with him.
Yeah, it's fun to start thinking about the activities and experiences you'll have.
Yeah.
That seems
Are
like
you ever
it's
gonna have
very
a
fun.
baby boy or baby girl?
I don't know. Most likely not. It's hard to tell. I feel like I'm at that age where like I'm not even thinking about that. I have other stuff to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I've like wanted personally. Like I don't have an urge to have a child. I don't know if I will. But it's a beautiful thing, and I like the idea of being an uncle kind of thing to someone else's kids and bringing them toys and kind of being a part of their life. But there's a lot of pressure, I feel, with raising a child. And I think, I'm not sure if I could handle that. I could barely handle having Bobo, my little dog.
One thing that I can say about like all the pressure that I felt like in the last few days is like I just disagree with it. Just like not doing that is probably a good route. So I agree with you.
Yeah. I also am not sure, like, I think I would be a good dad, but it also stressed me out sometimes, and it would, I wouldn't want my stress to inflict emotions on the child.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I take very seriously because growing up, like, I was a pretty decent kid, but I was also, like, a little bit difficult, and it stressed my parents out, then it would stress me out, and it was just this vicious cycle of fighting and bickering, especially as I got older, like when I was in my teenage years, and then, like, before college or whatever. And it's mind-numbing for the parent, for the kid. I'm not sure if I'm prepared for that and want to experience it again, you know, but from a different perspective.
I think our job, at least for me, my job feels like to break those cycles. To
It's
like
a challenge.
increase. Yeah.
And you're coming at it from a different perspective because, like, yeah, you're kind of acting as like a mender of generational trauma.
Yeah, because
like,
it didn't just start with your parents. It's gone down the line.
For sure. I mean, the reason that your dad or my dad act a certain way is because it's their grandpa or their great-grandpa, because it gets passed down in some odd way. And then we have those tendencies. My tendencies are probably very similar to someone in my family tree. I don't know who. You know, it's a weird thing. And there's a lot of pressure. I think raising, like, there's a lot of conversation about, like, some people just shouldn't have kids. You know? Like, you look at certain people.
You just look at yeah. That's like, not you, though. That's the thing, is that the bias is like, this person is like, that's not even bias. The thing is that you're the person who should be having kids. Because you do look at other people and you're like, oh no.
Yeah,
this is a mess.
If you were to do a textbook, Brandon should probably have kids.
Yeah.
He's pretty well put together. He has his, he's got shit
your mind.
Yeah. It's the classics. Have you ever seen the film Idiocracy?
Yeah.
So for people who haven't seen that, at the beginning of the film, they show like a couple in therapy, a very like well put together, smart couple, and they're like, well, we're not sure if we want to have kids yet. And then it cuts to the scene of this big hillbilly family, like, yeah, we're knocking up kids. They have like 50,000 kids. It's like, it gets to the point where that original couple who's got all their stuff together, they're doing really well in life. They get to the point where they're old enough, and they're like, well, now we can't have kids because we're too old, and I think we're just gonna like settle down and kind of retire and do our own thing. And then the hillbilly family has like 50,000 kids, and they obviously aren't good parents, so their kids are running around being chaos.
You know, as silly as that sounds, it really makes a lot of sense when you think about how kind of like what's consumed in entertainment and like what like most people like. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. like it kind of makes sense like when you think about like what most people find interesting. Like, have you seen those influencers on Instagram? And like the influencer kind of meta.
Oh,
how
sure,
they're just like hot, and there's like a formula that they're all doing, and just millions of people just like buy in.
They're all like the same. They're all NPCs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like NPCs and like they're brain dead, but just like in the way that they're all like kind of clones of each other.
Yeah, and everybody kind of agrees to like the meta of things. Like in YouTube videos, like thumbnail has to have like a money sign on it, or like you know, the thumbnails, like every YouTube thumbnail is kind of like following a formula, and then the titles are all a little bit like clickbaity, and like we all just kind of, not we all, but like there are people, it's so weird, like we're all opting into this formula that's like really dumb because it works for like, I don't think it works on people like us, but it works for people who are like, you know, having 100 babies, and they just go like, oh yeah, that looks fucking interesting or whatever. Yeah.
And like, you know what's so funny is like I always told myself, oh, I can never afford to have kids, but like I can like in the coming years I'll definitely be able to, but like there's something about like, I don't know. I looked at my parents and like they loved having kids. They loved having my brother and I. But I look at them like, oh wow, you just threw your life away. Like you had to raise us for 18 plus years, you know?
Yeah.
And you're still kind of a part of our lives in a way, and your brain is still attached to us.
Yeah,
they
but
love
you're
it.
such
They'll
an
say they love
amazing
it.
person. They do love it because
They do.
You are Brandon.
But I don't know if I
Perler.
would. I don't know if I would love it.
You would love it.
They loved
You'd
it.
have a little
Maybe
munchkin.
I would.
You'd come up with stupid names for your little munchkin. You'd call him a goblin baby boy, boomer. This is my boomer baby boy.
Exactly.
And you'd hang him upside down.
I'm sure I would
be a
enjoy
great dad.
I'm sure I would.
But you're fucking 27.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near that. I feel like
you're in a serious relationship.
I am, and who knows?
See, for me, the reason why that's important is that I was 27. When I was 27, I was like, I want to have kids now, and I wasn't in a serious relationship. So it's like, you know, it's easy to say you want kids when you're not really serious about being in a committed relationship. Can you talk about Anais and how you met the woman that you live with?
Yeah, so back when I was in New York City, I was feeling lonely, so I downloaded one of those dating apps, and I got swiping. Went on a handful of dates with other girls, nothing really clicked, and then I swiped on Anais, and instantly on our first date, we connected greatly. So we went to get, I think we got Japanese food. Oh yeah, I was so nervous that I ate when we ordered edamame, and I was so nervous that like I forgot how to eat it. Like you're supposed to kind of suck the peas out. I chomped on the entire edamame, and she's like, "What are you doing?"
Gosh.
And I'm like, "This is just how I eat it. This is just what I do," trying to play it off. And then she thought it was charming, but we had a great first date. So then after we had our Japanese dinner, we went to Chelsea Piers and we walked around. We sat on the bench and we talked for 6 hours. It was like the longest date ever. Then we wound up getting dinner. Oh no, we had lunch at Japanese, sat at this bench for like 6 hours, had dinner again.
Wow.
And it was just this long day of just hanging out, talking, getting to know each other.
Wow.
And then we hung out every day after that.
How does it feel when you remember those things?
It's good. Good memories. Because it was like a really like positive time. It was really happy. It was really exciting to learn about someone new and then have them just as excited to learn about you. That's really cool. Because sometimes it's just one-sided. And with us, it's never been that way. And we just couldn't get enough of each other. Every day. I don't think that we've only been away from each other for, I don't know, probably like a month total since then. We've been It's almost 4 years. My God. It's crazy. Yeah. It's good. I love it.
Wow.
We're happy. All's good.
Yeah. I like thinking about like meeting Anna for the first time and not knowing who she is, and
yeah,
that process of remembering, it was a nice date for me as well.
And what happens too is that your partner gets so ingrained in your life, and you kind of wind up meshing your. Oh, you're good. You wind up meshing your DNA together. Literally, but also figuratively. You mesh it together, and you kind of become like one individual as a duo, which is really cool. At least that's how it is for Anais and I, where we've become this kind of orb that is very strong emotionally, loving. We take care of each other. And it's this orb that is constantly, it's adding more and more atoms to it. It's growing and growing. And then it shakes around a little bit, and then it grows even more and shakes around and grows and grows. And it's a cool thing to witness. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
I relate to that. Like, I know that people say you're supposed to be your own person, but like it's very hard for me to imagine, like, I think maybe that's something that I want to work on in my relationship, but it's hard for me to imagine being like a distinctly separate entity from Anna. It's like how you say it feels like a dance between two people, almost like that Greek myth where do you know about it? The Greeks, there was in Plato's Symposium, one of the theories of love was that human beings were one person. So instead of like you and Anais, you would be one body, and you'd grab each other's arms, and then you'd roll around the earth. And for whatever reason, the gods got upset, and they tore man and woman in two. And now that's what we long for. We long constantly for that oneness that we had before. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. It's amazing to think about like the history and the traditions that we have with relationships over the years, like, and how it's evolved. Like the idea that you have to pick a partner in life is so interesting to me. Obviously, it's to create life and to perpetuate the human, experience on this planet. Yeah. Naturally, we have cravings to do that. But what's interesting is, like, we're not just creating babies, we're creating relationships. We could, when it, cavemen started or whatever, it was to create babies. I have a hard time believing there was, like, real emotional relationships. There might have been, but they might have been a little archaic and different than what they are today. And to see it evolve and become more emotional and more loving and deep and profound, and not just about creating a human, but loving each other. Going from the harsh contrast of cavemen to that today. And just as a reminder, we haven't been here that long. If you look at the time scale of humans on this planet, it's a piece of sand, in the middle of a football stadium. It's so small. And the fact that we've gone this far emotionally, imagine where we're going to be like in a 200 years, 1,000 years from now with relationships. What will that look like? Will it be intertwined with technology? Will we be in love with AI? Will we still love humans? Oh my God. Where do we even go? It's like the movie Her. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
Great movie where a guy falls in love with kind of like a Siri thing. And it's a really deep, beautiful relationship.
I think a lot of that, like falling in love with an AI, would be similar to caveman-like thinking, in the sense that I think cavemen and our fathers, or if not our fathers, our grandfathers, I don't think they thought of having children. Anna's here, but we can keep flowing. They thought of it as making babies rather than making relationships, and I think that's a mistake. And I think that falling in love with AI would be similar to the idea of making babies rather than making relationships, because relationships are really hard. They take work, and sometimes, it's not always fun. And I get that her was like, okay, the AI was like still a person, but I think that fantasy is like having sex, like having awesome sex without any of the kind of complications of being with a person that's separate from you.
How do you think, because eventually you already can create a child in like a test tube of sorts, but eventually you're going to be able to like genetically modify your child. You're going to be able to decide what color hair it has. You're going to be able to decide its gender, because eventually you want to create a healthy society. So if you could weed out all the natural born diseases, natural born deformities and disabilities, we're going to naturally do that. That's going to happen. It might even happen in our lifetime. What does that mean for love? Does it affect love? Is it separate from love? To me, I view it as separate. To me, I view creating a child and love very differently. I think they can relate to each other.
We're filming, so can you go into the other room, please? Okay. I'm listening.
And to me, I view them, as separate. Love and baby making separate. I think baby making is something that you do is almost like this final frontier to leave your mark on the planet. And I think you can have love and baby making separately. So I think as we go into the future and you're able to genetically create these babies, who's doing it? Who's creating the babies? Is it people in love that want children? Is it companies that want more employees? Who gets to create babies? Well, why not? Who gets to create babies? Yes, ethics are important. But ethics will get thrown out the window once the idea of who can create a baby is changed.
But say that again. You cut out for a second.
What I'm trying to say is basically, who can create a baby? I think this whole idea of like, and you kind of see it now with like, what is gender? Who can, how can you define my gender? That's not fair for you to do that.
Okay.
That's fair. Sure. Same with sexuality, whatever. Who are you to say I can't create a baby? I'm just a single man. I want a child. Why not?
That's fine.
That's fine. But then what if some sort of other entity wants to create a child that isn't like a traditional parent? I could totally see that happening.
I mean, it could still kind of happen now.
Sure.
Like, there's nothing really stopping that from happening now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely happening in countries like China. United States might be partaking in that too, where they're creating like farms of humans. That's possible. The technology is there to do it.
But it's not happening. Yeah.
We're not aware if it... Yeah, it's not happening. But the technology is there. And to assume that a government, a company, a new entity that appears that we don't understand yet, not like alien or anything, just like a new entity that humans create, or an identity or whatever. Who's to say that they can't create a baby? And then what does it mean for love, is what I'm trying to say. Like, is love its own separate thing then? Or can it still participate in this new creation of life that is more mechanical? And I think it depends.
I think that you have a tendency to view the future in a dystopian way, that I just don't think the future is going to be like a farm of babies, rather like closer to what you were talking about before, where more emphasis on relationships, less emphasis on making babies.
The only reason why I have these feelings about the dystopianness of it is because we're setting ourselves up for it. Have you seen how we are creating artificial meat in labs now?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is cool. You don't have to kill animals now, which is awesome. If we're doing that, we're creating artificial 3D printed meat at mass in labs. Why wouldn't we do that with humans? You know, why not? No, it's a big leap, but
it's a big leap.
I don't think it's that odd.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that odd. I think
all right.
It would help with population control if that's a concern of people. Like, if you're worried about population control, imagine if, you know, if people aren't... All right, so the birth rate is going down naturally right now.
Yeah.
Most people are not having kids. They can't afford it. They don't want it, whatever. So if the population is declining with birth rates and some entities want to bring it back up or whatever, and they could do it at their own pace, why not do it artificially?
You're looking at the world as if we're all machines without, like, feeling. Like, if we were trying to, like, maximize, like, X variable, right? Like, if that was just, like, how humans worked. If humans were like, okay, I want to make the most amount of money possible. Whatever I have to do to get to that goal will, like, is what's going to happen. Then, like, yeah, we would live in, like, a really crazy, fucked up place, which, like, some of it we do. Like, that's kind of some of the problems we have. But, like, we are human. We care. We care about meaning. We care about relationships. We care about happiness. Like, all of those three things alone are going to stop, like, stuff like that from happening.
I hope
and as
so.
long as, I mean, let's just tie it into fatherhood. But really it is kind of connected where it's like creating, giving, caring about that with myself is one way to begin the process of, like, you know, the means to an end stuff from happening.
Yes. It does worry me just because I know how our capitalist society works. If you gave Amazon the technology to create humans, I fear that they would do it right now. I really do. I don't think they're an ethical company in a lot of ways with how they treat humans. And I hope that they replace humans with robots so they don't have to be doing those crazy jobs. But I think it's important to have these conversations because, yes, it's a far stretch, but we're heading on the pathway to have the technology to really do it. And I think it's important to at least have a conversation, freak people out, freak myself out, that it's a possibility. And if you don't like it, talk about it. That's how you prevent shit from happening.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
It's scary. I hate having a dystopian mindset of the future, but it's hard not to with, like, our current world. Like, I saw the transition. It's a little blurry, but I saw the transition from pre-9/11 to post-9/11. And you see videos, you see imagery. The world was not perfect before 9/11, but it has gotten substantially worse post.
I don't know, dude. I mean, X-Men 1 prices are plummeting right now.
They are. Now's your chance. And that did happen after 9/11.
It did. You know what also happened after 9/11?
What?
Our friendship.
That is true. A lot of good things did happen after 9/11. But I think at a structural, societal level, things have declined. Yeah, Bitcoin's cool. We'll see. I'll let you know in 10 years. But I think I get scared because I look at how stupid we are. You look at the leaders of these countries and the leaders of these think tanks and organizations. I'm like, you just see how stupid they are. They're normal humans like us, but they don't act like it. They act like they're something else. And I just know.
Like, I know they act like robots is weird. How they behave is weird. Yeah.
Nothing's organic. Nothing's natural. Nothing's from the soul.
There are reasons from that, though. There are books on that where they're, like, very emphasizing the left brain, which is, like, mechanical, lacking vocal tone, kind of manipulating people, and, like, you kind of hear it in, like, customer service representatives or just throughout your day. You'll hear, like, this person's kind of a dick. And it's because they're probably just thinking, like, very mechanical, and their sentences are lacking any vocal intonation, and they're just saying, get your point across, and it comes across as if they're just awful people.
How sad is that, though? They got their soul sucked by their job.
Yeah. I don't think it's that different from like the most powerful people in the world. I think also their souls are sucked, and they want help. They have nobody to kind of help them out.
Yeah. That's why to transition to this other subject that is interesting, I'm a AI absolutist. I think AI should replace almost all jobs and almost all activities.
Wow. So even like sports.
Sure.
No, don't say sure.
Well, one-sided.
Don't say
one-sided. That. I want to play against an AI robot who could teach me.
Okay,
if I'm going to go on the tennis court,
but I
want an AI robot to play against.
We're going to keep like Serena Williams, right? Like,
of course.
We can have like separate leagues.
Yes, we'll have an AI league.
Saying about this.
An AI league and a human league. Yeah. AI league will be where humans fight against robots.
Okay.
But to get back to what I was saying, I think AI should replace most jobs because I don't think humans are. We weren't born to work for someone else.
Yeah.
To live. That's the only thing we were given is just live.
I agree.
And then you're going to die soon. Yeah. But just live until then.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that we put ourselves to work and we have to stress about if we could feed our children or feed ourselves, that's not one way to live. And I think if AI can replace most jobs, that'll open up opportunities for you to pursue things that you're more interested in with your life.
And we should have the opportunity to create our own meaning. Nobody should fucking be able to say, like, you can do this for 4 hours a day. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. The fact that somebody else gets to tell you how you live your life. And I think AI, like you said, we're getting to the point in technology where we're going to have, like, human integrity for everyone. Or I'm not saying that people don't have human integrity. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
We respect everyone's right to live their lives however they want, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody.
So then what happened? Well, how do you pay for things? So you'd have to introduce a universal basic income. You'd have to introduce something where everyone from when this new world begins, everyone from the richest person to the poorest person gets the same amount of money every month.
This is so similar to my communist ideology, where it's like we have, like when I was a college student, where it's like we have the ability to create enough for everyone. We have the ability to feed everyone. It's like, so why doesn't everyone get like what they need?
I wouldn't even call it communist. This is a capitalist wet dream. Like,
no, I agree. It's like an altered version on similar thinking, though.
It's a beautiful mix of capitalism and communism where imagine if your population is getting, let's say, $5,000 a month. Where's that money going? It's going to go back into the economy, back into this big, world, this big ball where you throw your money into it. It's going to go back to Nike. It's going to go back to Apple. It's going to go back to Costco, you name it.
Yeah.
There's this idea that, like, people are just going to be lazy. So be it. So what? If someone wants to be lazy, that's their life. Fuck you.
I agree with that so much, dude. It's always bothers me. It's like, like, why do you care if somebody else isn't doing what you think they should be doing?
We want control. Bothered me. We have a mindset where we must control everything and everyone around us. We all must be the dystopian mechanical mindset.
Here's the next argument, though. It's not about, this is really weird because I'm going to be talking as Joe Rogan, devil's advocate here, okay? What if it's not about people living their lives how they want? What if it's about increasing people's happiness and meaning? And what if people get the most happiness and the most meaning by having a job, being something that they have to do? What if giving people, the complete freedom to do whatever they want makes them less happy?
Sure. Yeah. That's possible. And I think to that I say, let it be an option. If you want to work trust me, we will find a way to put you to work. Humans are very good at that.
Yeah.
We are very good at putting people to work. But I think that should be an option. I don't think you should have to work. And
Same.
There's this new movement that is a little aggressive, and I'm not sure if I'm in love with it. It's called anti-work. It's a popular subreddit on Reddit where
Isn't it like that with movements where it's like, this is a great idea, and the people inside it are really, like, they're just too
it's incoherent.
radical.
You have so many radical people that are fighting to be the most radical. And I think it needs to be simple. Universal basic income. Do whatever you want. You want to work? Work. If you don't, don't. Done. Mm-hmm. There's a simple, very short guide. I'm sure there's like more to it that you need to figure out that I'm not thinking about. But ultimately, that's all you need to kind of kickstart it. And I think people are starting to realize this. After COVID, and during COVID, people realized, why have I been going to this office space for 8 hours a day when I could be in the comfort of my home doing the same exact thing? We have the technology. We have Wi-Fi. Everyone has super fast computers from home. Why do I need to be in an office? The only reason the office existed is because they had computers in a time when most people didn't have computers at their home. Now, if you don't have a computer at your home, what the fuck are you doing? Of course, I mean, everyone has a computer or an iPad or a phone or something. So this wake-up happened during COVID where, why am I in the office? Why am I wasting 8 hours of my day being in this building with people that I don't really care for? Some people would say that. Some people love their coworkers. That's fine. But most people felt like, why am I here? I could be at home with family, with my dog, in a comfy outfit, not feeling stuffy. And
okay, so we're here, right? So we're at that place where we've had the Great Awakening. We're like 3 years into the Great Awakening, right? And so it's like, how do we be happy? How do we like increase happiness in our relationships? How do we have a meaningful marriage? Boyfriend, girlfriend, you know?
How do we do it? I think you just have to, in a weird way, the way that I do it and feel comfortable doing it is for your entire life, you're driving. And your hands are on the wheels and you're focusing on what's in front of you. The best way to learn, and don't do this at home, but take your hands off the wheels and close your eyes and just kind of let the car glide and take you where it needs to be. You might go over a bump, you might crash into a tree, but you could go into reverse and you could pull out and you keep driving. Your car won't be wrecked, don't worry. Just kind of let shit happen, see where the dominoes fall, fix where you don't like it. That's how you do it at a personal level. And if you do it at a personal level, and if everyone's kind of doing it, that same thing at a personal level, we're all going to reach this kind of beautiful realization that, like, we need to be more independent. We need individuality. We need to be introspective and less focused on driving, more focused on looking out the window and observing the stuff that's outside.
Agreed. Well said. We were going to talk about sexual attraction, and it was topic that interests me. Do you mind if I just jump into it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the reason why sexual attraction interests me is I think that in our society we're kind of taught to go towards the Hollywood romance, which is obsessive love. Like we just need to be like, this person needs to be the most important part of our life, and you know, the Hollywood romance stuff. But that hasn't been what my most meaningful relationship has looked like with Anna. And I think I was stuck through my whole 20s looking for what scientists are calling limerence, which is just basically like, I can't get enough of this person. I was looking for that feeling, and but the data doesn't really support that makes like happy marriages. Like, you know the divorce rates are crazy, but then the one that interests me the most is the statistic that interests me the most is American U.S. families are less happy than Indian families. And it's 20 years down the line. So if you interview a marriage, like right now when they're first together and they just get married, they're probably like, oh, fuck yeah. Who knows? Maybe they hate each other. But if you go 20 years later, then the Indian marriages are more happy and they're more successful. They stay together. And what interests me is that Indian marriages are arranged, or a lot closer to arranged than American families. And they also don't have this notion of love at first sight, or this notion of like, oh, you know, you just feel it and it's right. They're like the total opposite. They're like, mom really wants me to marry this fucking doctor, and that's it. And then you get into a relationship with the doctor. It doesn't matter if it's unhealthy or if it's healthy, but basically they have to be together. Like, divorce is not really an option in Indian culture. And so the notion is we're going to make it work. And then 20 years down the line, just working, you're fucking in a great situation.
And they're happy.
You love each other. They're happy.
Wow.
Like, so it's kind of like everything that we're taught from the movies and what we're taught by our peers, like, is like counterproductive to like a healthy, happy marriage.
Wow.
I find that awesome.
Yeah, it's hard not to fall into the fake Hollywood idea of what love is.
Yeah.
Especially when you're inundated with that since you're born. That's all you know what love is. Obviously, you could look at your parents. But more than likely, you're probably consuming more media than you are your parents' interaction.
It's not brainwashing, but it's the thing where it is so normative. It is so like what we grow up with that we think that that's just the only way to be in relationships.
How do you break that cycle then? That mindset?
Science, for one, helps a lot. Studies help
as an individual, though.
Yeah, I mean, that helped me a lot. But then
just reading the studies,
yeah. But also getting older was a big one.
Yeah.
Going through a bad breakup was a big one. I think these are all lists, so it doesn't really capture very well like the revolution that needs to happen.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like I wanted to be kind to myself and I wanted to love myself. That's where it was.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of this ties back to just individualism, loving yourself,
because
finding out what makes you happy.
If you look at Hollywood relationships, like in movies, and also my past, like best relationships, like the women were really mean to me. They were like really critical. And if you look at these like stories, these movies, there's always like something that pushes the woman or the man away, and it's like a ridiculous thing. It's like, whatever it is, it's some minor thing that like can be talked about, and it pushes the woman away or the other person away, and you have to do everything in your power to get her back. And like that whole dynamic of a relationship where the person is just like, I'm fucking out of here, bro, like on, so for some small thing is like, that's just an unhealthy dynamic. Like for me, at least, for Anna and me, it's like Anna loved what I said, what I had to say. I loved what she had to say. We were learning from each other. And also I was teaching her how to reciprocate and give affection. That was it. And now we're just like lovebirds.
And what I noticed with my friends is that it's harder now too, because of the swiping culture, which is funny because that's how I met my girlfriend that I love. But when you have access to like millions of people on your phone that are potentials, and you're swiping right and you don't know which one's going to be the fit, it's like this constant perpetual could I be doing better? Is this the right
Yeah.
one? And that's always existed in humanity, but like with the swiping stuff, it's amplified to a degree that's never been before. And I think it really kind of fucks with people's love lives in a lot of ways. People hate the dating apps now. It's torture.
They've always hated them, but yeah. I think for one thing, what I will say that I didn't get to say before is when people ask me what they should do, I would say go towards the ones who love you and reciprocate your affection, and that you can have conversations with, like meaningful, deep conversations with. That's it. And the sexual stuff, if it's not there, it'll develop in time. It will. The other stuff, like the dating app, there's an easy answer for that. Be in an open relationship. If that bothers you, if you want the best pudding on the table and you feel like your lady isn't giving you the best pudding on the table, which isn't true, but maybe you will think, I want other pudding besides my pudding, just go on the apps, talk to your lady and go on the apps and just fuck around.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. I mean, I would never do that, but like, it's just a hard thing to do for. I don't feel that way, so I don't feel like that's necessary. But I'd imagine that is hard for someone to do.
At one point, I felt that way, and Anna and I were in an open relationship for like the beginning of our relationship, and it's what got us to the point of being, so strong today. You know, the feeling like what you're talking about, being an individual, being able to express what you want, being radically honest, like all of that is what gets you to the good pudding.
Interesting route to take. Not sure how I feel about it. I think there's a beauty to, if it's difficult, figure it out with the one individual. And if you can't figure it out with them, I guess you could try, but I think there's already something broken if you're trying to open it up. I could be wrong. And it's relative to the relationship and the scenario, but the idea of an open relationship, it feels chaotic. Like when I was on the dating apps and I was talking to two people at once, I could barely even do that. Like number one, I would fuck it up. I would start like thinking I told someone this story or watch this movie with this person, or like you start like mixing stuff, and maybe that's just me. But that's more so like when you're like dating.
There's nothing broken about open relationships. There's nothing broken about wanting different partners in an open relationship.
How do you deal with the tension?
My relationship with Anna was not broken. Quite the opposite.
How do you deal with like attention giving? Like, was there ever? I always think of like, when I think of open relationships, for some reason I always think of like those Utah polygamy families. And I would watch those documentaries going up of like the guy and his 50 wives. And I would wonder, did the wives ever get like jealous of the attention that one gets over the other? And that's like obviously like 14 people. Like that's not normal. But in most cases it's 3 or 4 maybe. How do you deal with like the attention thing? Does anyone ever get jealous? How does that work?
Isn't that just something you talk about?
It is something you talk about.
Yeah.
Is it something though that can also be the breaker of the relationship? In some cases.
I mean, do you want to break the relationship? I mean, if you want to, if your wife wants to break up with you, then you can break up. Then she'll break up with you, or
Yeah. So you just
monogamous
you view it more as like a
relationships
test flight
break up.
thing. It's a test flight. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's different. I embrace all weird. When I say weird, I mean non-normal, obscure relationships, identities, whatever. It's cool.
Yeah. Open relationships make a lot of sense to me because you're able to do whatever you want, and you respect your autonomy, and you respect the other person's ability to do whatever they want, and then you go from there. And it's like, is this working or isn't it? That's it.
So when you guys were in your open relationship, did it started initially as an open relationship, or did it start with you two and then you made it that shortly
It started,
after?
yeah, it started with Anna being a friend, and then it started with us dating and us dating other people, and then it became an open. I wanted her to be my girlfriend, and I wanted to be open, and then, you know, the attachment just grew from there. I think it makes a lot of sense for people who are afraid of commitment, or who in the past, you know, feel like restricted or they can't be themselves or whatever. And our feelings just grew to the point where it's like, okay, we can talk about whatever works for both of us.
And when did the open relationship end, and when did is it still open? Or
I think it's closed, but
it's closed now. Okay.
yeah, I would be open to having an affair at some point.
And she's aware. She's like, you guys have conversations about that.
Yeah. We're not done with the podcast, honey. Can you go into the other room? Can you go into the bedroom?
It's been over an hour, man.
No, it hasn't. It's been... And you know that we're doing a podcast right now, okay? This is getting ridiculous.
Is it happening again?
Yeah, it's happening again. I don't know.
This will be like a part of our... No, this should be like a part of every episode.
Yeah.
Where Anna comes in at the hour mark.
Or something. I don't know.
Do you have... So... Do you have an open conversation with her about that? Like, that you'd open to an affair?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And would you let her also do that as well?
Yes.
Yeah. That's really special that you have that you guys are both open, comfortable, and honest about that, because that's not the norm. And it's cool that you have that, because that's what you want. It's what she wants, and you guys both figured it out. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I like having an open, I don't know how to say it. Whatever. Thanks. I appreciate it. It works well for us.
That's good. I would worry, like, what if, like, I'm in a long relationship, and then we open it up, and then I fall in love with this new person that comes along.
Isn't that
and
wonderful?
Then, like, yes, it is wonderful, but
okay.
And then it breaks the relationship that you built prior.
Okay, but now you're in a wonderful, new, very sexually fueled relationship with someone, right? You're happy.
Yes, but I would feel, especially if I was like happy prior and like in a really good place with the relation, and we open, and then I don't know. I'm conflicted about it because it feels like I'm abandoning a good project or something.
Yeah.
And I got distracted by this new shiny project, but the old project was really great too.
Maybe have both projects.
I mean, that's the dream. You learned from your father, that one.
Have many projects.
What was that like? So your dad had lots of babes growing up. Yeah. Do you feel like you learned that from him, this kind of open relationship mindset?
No. I think I grew up with like whatever people want to do. As long as it's not hurting anybody, it's a good thing. Yeah. And, you know, live and let live sort of thing. Don't judge.
What was it like after was it weird seeing your dad, how do I say it? Fuck all these bitches after your mom and him split? Was it legitimate, or was it a lot for show?
No, it was legitimate. I don't think it was weird. I think it just hurt me because I didn't really understand like why my mom wasn't good enough, and why I felt like, you know, our family wasn't good enough, because he basically, like, the Hugh Hefner that the public knows is, you know, that wasn't the Hugh Hefner that he was when he had kids and a marriage. He was very much a family man. And then he got separated and like did a 180, like boom, that was it, new life, new chapter.
It's amazing that he was able to do that switch at that age too. Like, it's kind of cool that, like, I mean, maybe not for you, but just as an outsider, like, cool to see someone at that age not give up and like, no, I'm gonna start a new canvas. Weirdly inspiring that, like, even
It's
at
not
that age,
if you have kids. It's not if you have
different
kids.
when you have kids, and there's
it's
people that
different
are
if you
affected
know
by it. Yeah.
If you know the studies of insecure attachment and secure attachments in kids, because divorces like are guaranteed to give your kid an insecure attachment. But
sure.
Anna's
She's
actually she's gonna go crazy if we don't end here.
I mean, the last clip was great that we got of her schooling you on the groceries.
Yeah, well, we're building a secure attachment together.
That's good.
So yeah, it's nice.
Well, this was great. I feel like this could be an ongoing conversation because there's a lot to unpack here, I think, and a lot that we didn't get to that I would like to get to. So we'll talk about this more. Yeah, good stuff. Good talking to you.
You too, man.
Yeah, man. All right, I'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.